All right, well, I will also do it through the, so you're doing it through your page, are you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So they can, anybody who wants, they can see it live on the page.
Yeah. And then I'll also put it through.
Share it. Yes. So
Yes.
from there you can share it.
Yeah.
Okay, we are
Yeah.
live. We are live. Hi everyone. This is little grace time that we've logged in. We'll wait for people to join in and we start in the next 1 minute. On this wonderful Sunday evening, we are waiting for all of you to join in so that we can begin. All right, so here we go. Namaste. This is Roshni Shenazz. A very, very warm welcome to all of you on this very, very beautiful Sunday evening in some parts of India, some parts of the world, sorry, and lovely morning in parts of the world where our dear friend Dave Rogers comes from. Welcome, Dave, to another beautiful session together.
And namaste. And we had a beautiful morning here in Canada with the starting of a sun salutation at 6 a.m. in a beautiful healing session out in the park. And I'm so grateful to my experiences in India
Oh,
because they've been able to bring me back to so many wonderful areas of wisdom and bring it to Canada. So thank you to all of my friends in India and now all my friends here in Canada who are sharing some of the wonderful wisdom of Mother India.
lovely, lovely. This entire, uh, I feel the strength of collaborating our strengths is so powerful that I wouldn't even really have words to put in of what it means when strengths of different people come together to elevate the collective consciousness, to elevate or enhance or enrich lives and the entire world. So I'm so thankful for this opportunity that we are not only got together, but we are helped by the divine force, by the universe, to make this entire association be fruitful for a larger purpose. So I'm so thankful that we are here together and on this beautiful day, ready to share our hearts with the world.
It's
Great.
beautiful when you have a chance to listen and you have an opportunity to share. Our words become miraculous, they become healing, they become curious experiments. And so that's one of the beauties of simply being in the state of respectful conversation.
True. True. So very true. So very true. And also having that open heart and soul that, so many times today's topic deals with this underlying factor of living in so much of comparison, which brings us a large amount of the topic that we are going to discuss today. So let's get going as people join in, and we will wait for some more loving souls to join us so that they don't miss our beginning. Till then, I'll just give them a little intro to the session. That today's session is about the topic grief to gratitude, a journey with a cause. It is a journey that all of us take at some point or other in life, and none is whatsoever spared from this grief. The intensity may differ, reasons may differ, and the entire journey of it will differ from person to person. Today, both of us, Dave Rogers and myself, are here connected to this very, very deeply moving topic because we both have had our shares, and I'm sure all of you have had your shares as well. But what we are going to do is traverse through this journey with you to give you a little highlights and tips of things that you can do to kind of strengthen your inner immunity and get going by shifting this entire paradigm of this journey from grief to gratitude. So that is what the session is all about. Importantly, a journey with a cause is this seminar is being planned that we will do about 3-4 parts because grief as a topic is humongous. There are so many different layers to it, just like everything else. But there are some key layers that we want to address, and they all cannot be addressed in one session. So we both have planned that we will give you all this whole journey in about 2 to 3 parts, or we'll see if it needs anything more. But as of now, we will do it in about 3 parts. And the cause part attached to it is that we all are in this balance of universe and this giving and taking. There always has to be every inhale as an exhale. Without balance, this universe cannot sustain. And therefore, we thought that with all of the love, the energy, and the sharing that we are doing, we give you the opportunity to give back from what you have got. So we have connected these webinars now with a cause connected to our NGO, Meher Roshani Foundation. In the description, you will find links, and at the end of the webinar, you can go to that link and donate whatever that you want to the cause of the 5 pillars of the NGO through which we are supporting our underprivileged, siblings of humanity. Especially right now in the COVID times, we have been helping, through our friends, patrons, well-wishers who've been donating with full heart, whatever they can. Every penny, every drop counts. So small or big doesn't matter. Everything that you give from your heart is going to go towards helping some of the slum dwelling, underprivileged, underserved, siblings who we can empower and enable right now where they don't have any income through ration, through masks, through medical support, through educational fees support for the schools of their children. Because income is not there, but the schools are taking full fees. Landlords are taking full rents. The market is not giving you free veggies and things. So everything is costing. Everything is being still paid for. And for all, we have done about 68 sessions, completely gifted to all of you. 68 sessions from 1 hour to 1.5 hour, which is humongous amount of hours given out into the universe. And all of that, those blessings are helping us to do more and more for people who really need it. So do not give up on this thought. And at the end of the webinar, we also have a surprise gift from Dave Rogers and myself as well. So both of us will decide, share with you the gift at the end of the webinar. But nonetheless, do go through the description. And now we begin our wonderful journey from grief, moving towards gratitude. So welcome again, everyone. And I thank my friend, my kindred soul, Dave Rogers, for giving his time, wisdom, knowledge, and the presence of his precious energy to do this session along with me. Thank you so much, Dave. So
Thank
put
you
in
so
your
much.
questions pertaining. Yes. So Dave, let's begin with we'll share a little bit on everything that we go by, little insights and let them take home of what we both have to offer. So let's begin with you. If you had to describe grief at your end, what does it tell you? Like, what is the first thing about grief that comes to you, which is common to people?
Well, I've been doing research into it because I've been very curious about what are some ways that we can shift our belief about grief. And so, especially these days where the pandemic has created lots of triggers for people, whether it's losing a job, whether it's losing a loved one, whether it's losing their self confidence, their self esteem. And so, many people right now are being triggered and are finding themselves in states that are not very positive. So, this idea of shifting a belief about grief, I then went and talked to people, interviewed people, explored their journey with grief. And I feel that there are ways to shift our focus,
Dave,
shift our
yeah,
words
sorry.
that can allow people to move through the process of grief in a way that they can reconnect to their inner self. They can reconnect to their love, to their light, as opposed to being stuck in a state that is very uncomfortable and not very joyful. And so, even when I talk to people who have been experiencing the COVID and the death of COVID, there are ways to look at it that could uplift the experience instead of staying in a pit or in a very dark place. And so, in some ways, that's quite exciting. Yet, in some ways, it can be quite fearful. Yet, both of those are emotions, energy and motion. And so, if
True.
today, with our conversation, we can assist each other and others who are listening with some strategies, approaches, or blessings, that's a wonderful thing. And
True.
how about you?
So
What would
very,
you
so very
say?
right, Dave.
What would you say is your relationship with grief?
For me, my the moment I touch upon this word, it pertaining to my life, I have seen times where the times of grief have actually catapulted my strength to realize that I'm much more than who I thought I was. So, lying in the bed, for example, when I'm grief stricken with what's going on, and no money, no this, friends shut off, all those 5,000 people, hi darling, hi sweetie, no more there. What happens? And I realized that every time this kind of a thing happened in my life, where I would put a term to it, that I was going through a lot of grief at that time. And if I have to insert that word, it actually, it gave me a certain kind of expansion, that if that was not there, if that would not have happened, I would still be in the slump of mediocrity, of thinking who I otherwise was. You know, I don't know if I'm expressing it or, correctly, but it is like, when we say somebody, some people have this attribute that they become great writers when they are grief struck, romantically especially, so many times. We write these poems and we write these songs and stuff like that, right? I did that as well. I started writing very early during my school time sickness, where I was. And then when I was working in my films, one of my mentors had this laugh, and he used to say that I'm becoming like one of these writers who can have better flow of words when she's lying in the hospital. So it was a matter of laughter and humor. But I saw that that happens with many, many people. And that's where I think unconsciously we are transmuting grief into something else without actually knowing about it. And the power lies when you tap upon that same innate ability in a more conscious way. And then the entire shift starts taking place, because otherwise it's an unconscious formulation that's going on, and one thing leads to another, but you're not able to pinpoint it. The chapter is over, you've not really learned the lesson out of it, and you've moved ahead only thinking, oh, I wrote some great songs while I was unwell or when I was grief stricken, but it ends there. But when we, I think, consciously think about grief as this playground of strength, then I think what, as you said rightly enough, that when we shift the words, when we shift the perception, when we shift that internal relation to grief, is where we can actually move towards a concrete paradigm shift. That's what I at least have experienced in my life. Are you? Is your audio there, Dave? Because your voice is cracking. Is your voice?
Uh,
Please tell us if you can hear us clearly.
I can
Everyone,
hear you.
please write in the comments. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Great. So let's move, Dave, towards that beautiful discussion on the kinds of grief. I always, so many times people say, oh, you don't need to talk about the dark, you don't need to talk about the thing. But I said, if you don't accept and embrace the fact that you have a stomach ache, you will not go to a doctor. So the importance of traveling through the darkness, or acknowledging it, as its existence. So right now, if grief is the darkness that we are talking about, I feel to know what are the kinds of grief, what exactly, how does it percolate matters. What do you think, right?
Well, actually, when you and I had that conversation, I felt your distinctions about it were beautiful. And I believe it was your sharing with me that really encouraged me to come today and to talk about it. Is that there's really, from your perspective, there's three types of grief. And I welcome you to share a little bit that, again, the idea that you can have a grief towards a loss of your reputation. You have a grief towards perhaps the loss of a loved one. And then you have a grief to a loss. And maybe you can share a little bit about the third one that really brings it to a very powerful component called the triad or the trilogy or the tripartite. Often things come in waves of three. And so you have that, maybe that last one to share of the types of grief that you shared with me.
Sure. So, in what came once while I was meditating upon this, because I've had a close relation with this word a lot of times in my life. And this beautiful thing of, as Dave very beautifully put it, as that, the trilogy of grief, that grief distinctly is under three umbrellas, three larger kind of broader perspective, broader umbrellas. The first is the, the grief of the intangible, the grief of, as Dave said, which we shared that day, grief of the reputation, grief of losing name, losing face, losing confidence, any of these intangibles, losing, you know, uh, someone in the aspect of what you were, but you are not, losing yourself. So any of this losing, the grief of the intangible in life, is the first form of grief. And unfortunately, though it is the intangible, it is one of the strongest forms of grief because we are so attached to our names, our reputations, our ego fronts that we put up, and so on. And therefore, it told me that this is the stickiest of the griefs, the grief of the intangible. Then the next one was the grief of the tangible loss. So it would be people, it would be a loved one, a friend losing not just by death, but losing, where you strayed in relationship, it strained the energies between you, you have fallen apart, or it could be any kind. It could be the tangible form of money, finances, business, job, any kind of physical losing. The tangible losing was the second one. And I forgot the third one, which I told you. I don't have my channel notes. What was that word? There was this beautiful word that came in channeling for the third one. Uh, and it is that grief of our, the inner space, the grief of losing our soul, losing our values, losing something more, more valuable than words can put in, something that is difficult to get back, kind of a thing. Losing time, losing the principles of life, succumbing to the outside, or any kind of a thing which prolongates our period of grief and gets us into one thing into another, like, one lie leads to 10 lies, as we say. So something that puts us into that circle. Dave, did you get that word that I had used? I
Yes, yes, I have
I
it.
forgot my diary in my room only. Yes,
So
could you share, please?
again, I'm sharing this and I'm inviting our listeners to hear this because what you hear is really relevant for you. And so if I can repeat, because this is really useful when Roshani was sharing this with me. So on one hand, are you losing your reputation or something that means a lot to you? Are you losing a beloved, a pet, an animal, a friend? Or are you losing yourself in a state of overwhelm? And so, are you feeling out of control because the environment is taking you away? And so, you've lost your ability to respond and react with love and light.
Yeah.
You're swept away in overwhelm and feel you're out of control. And so, those are the three that we danced with, and we're dancing with it today because it might be where you are or a loved one is. And so we wanted to be able to share it in such a way that it might be able to be identified, have awareness of, and then we might interrupt you and get you to breathe. And we might interrupt you and get you to smile. Or we might interrupt you with a question that allows you to reconnect, to reactivate your connections to the divine. And so we thought that would be a beautiful dance. And then we brought in some of the Western world's way of dealing with grief. And they have a beautiful 5-pot model. First is denial. Second is anger. Third is bargaining. Fourth is depression. And we have a feeling that many people might be in a various state of depression or overwhelm currently. And we might go back to anger or frustration. Or we'll go into this dance that has been so sticky that we're not even ourself. It's like we're in an altered state of consciousness. And I believe that this 5-step process, which is very famously referred to in Western psychology, is the Kubler-Ross 5-step of grief. And so by sharing that with you, you might see it and you go, wow, I'm stuck in anger and frustration. Or, wow, I'm stuck in depression. Yet we wanted to be able to share it with you in different dimensions to speak to you at different levels. So this is a beautiful picture that was designed by a dear friend in Malaysia. And she shared it with me after I shared the process with her. And now we're sharing with you. So we're getting love from Malaysia to shift, perhaps shifting your grief, perhaps shifting your belief about grief. And so that's something that we're very happy to be able to share with you today. Feel free to take a picture of it, because if it can help you or any of your loved ones, Miss Roshani and I were very pleased and happy to be able to serve. And that's
Yes,
why we're doing what we're doing today, is we want
absolutely.
to invite you to be able to interpret and perhaps serve others.
Yes, absolutely. And I got the word of the third one: grief about things you can't control in life. So, yes, it is about the grief of somebody not listening to us, grief of the loved one not changing, grief of telling somebody something and not somebody not listening, grief of other people's behavior, the outside drama. So, things that are not in our control is the grief of the third type, which is also a very, very powerful grief. It is felt to what came to me in the meditation that the grief of the intangible and the grief of things that are not in control are the stickiest. Whereas, though the grief of the tangible is, oh my God, I lost the money, I lost the job, is seemingly big, actually in your soul imprint, it is not as sticky as the other two. Isn't that a beautiful revelation? So it goes to tell us how we are so strongly impacted more by the drama created outside of us rather than its impact inside of us. And then the impact inside keeps increasing as the grief keeps increasing. But the stickiest form of grief for us to deal with is these two. And so if you go through this whole chart that we are sharing right now, which Dave has, very with a loving, warm heart shared with all of us, denial is right at the top. Can you see that? It is the kingpin up there because that's where we live in. We live in non acceptance. We do not want to accept the darkness. We do not want to accept our shadows. We do not want to accept what is, which also is the form of the third grief, what is not in our control. We don't want to accept it. Oh, I don't want to go there. I don't want to see it. I don't want to face it. So, denial is like the gripping holder of this whole process. Denial of anger, denial of acceptance, denial of depression, denial of bargaining. Now you will say, what is bargaining? Can anybody share us in comments? What do you feel is bargaining in this whole thing, in the process? Then Dave could throw some more light. I would like him to throw it and let him speak on it. But I would like to know from you, what do you think is bargaining factor in this whole chart? Because it's very, very interesting.
Well, I felt that bargaining is very close to me because I remember back when I was a child and things happened that when I had the biggest days of grief, I remember lying in bed and crying and being very emotional and even saying to God, "Oh God, please bring her back. If you bring her back, I'll be a good boy." And like there was this bargaining, asking God to do something for me that would allow it to go back the way it was. So it was attempting to reclaim the way it was as opposed to acknowledging the way it is. And so that was very fascinating, that it is a story that gets retold and a story that we're trying to rewrite from the history instead of being present with it and being grateful for it. And so always looking to bargain is the way our ego, our false ego, will play with a situation that we want to change, especially something from the past. And so that's a big part of, in what way do you bargain? In what way are you looking to capture the past as opposed to breathing into the present. I could share a funny story because yesterday I had my hair cut. And for the first time in 50 years, I
Lovely.
really started liking my hair. And then I went to the barber and I told him which blade to use, yet he used the blade that was not the one I wanted. And that happened. My God, it was a shock. And so I was thinking, oh my God, as the first stroke goes, I go, oh no. And I knew I could have been angry. I know I could have went to bargaining. I breathed into acceptance. And even today, I'm bargaining a little bit by wearing a hat. So in what ways do we bargain with life? And so that's part of the game to play today. And so I'll take that off because I do
No
like
more
the
bargaining. Great. I suppose you were only supposed to wear that hat to bring that point into the conversation. So there it goes. Divinity plays its part.
That's twice today I've used it as a laughter methodology because part of the grief to gratitude, if you can sincerely find and honor and celebrate the gift. Now, somebody will say to me, oh, you can't do that when it's about death. Well, guess what? There are some people, some cultures that celebrate even a young death. Would you have rather had that child in your life for 12 years, or would have you rather never had them in your life? It's a harsh question, yet it's a sincere, caring question to allow the person to move to acceptance with it instead of blame, to have a joyful perspective to the gift instead of what they've lost. And so that is part of the process for some to truly step in to the gift.
True, very
to
true.
the miracle.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To the blessing.
And this very important word that you use, which we discussed the other day as well, that most of the time, grief contains one companion, one very, very strong companion, the best friend of grief, and that is blame. Blame, I feel, tries to be this big, one of the strongest allies of grief, because it is in that position, in that energy zone, that it can full throttle be thrown onto someone else. Because never ever are we responsible for our own grief. And if we cannot find anyone, then but obviously God is responsible, last but not least. So blame is one thing which I feel we need to, blatantly face, right, head on, and move away from it through the process. Because till the time this so-called best friend is there with us, we will actually, I felt at many a times, will not be able to shift from that energy of grief. So the example that you beautifully gave of celebrating life, if the blame is, why did God take away this person? Why did this happen? Why did that happen to me? That blame best friend will never allow that person to come out, because the victimhood is very high. So the word victim is the second word after blame. So blame graduates and becomes a strong pattern of victimhood, which is like, strengthening the soil of grief for us to stay in there, get locked in there. And thereby, all of these, the anger, the bargaining, and the depression, the interplay of these keep going on, because these become the outlet. And then we start justifying our grief. Oh, I was so grieved and I lashed out at you. Oh, I was so grieved, so I bargained and I did this. Oh, I was so grieved, so, I just went into this depression. So victimhood and blame try to then find anchors. They are like creepers. I always give this example that negativity is like a creeper. It requires a central pole to weave itself around. And whatever is the most vulnerable aspect of our life, it starts winding itself around it. gripping it more and more strongly. And every creeper requires only so much of water to grow 10 feet. So, the same way, the slightest of the emotions of any of these lower energy zones will kind of encourage the grief to get stronger. And thereby, the journey is to eradicate these three and move towards that very big one called acceptance, which is the first very step. And we can only do it when we remove these two friends of blame and victimhood out of it. Because till these go, we will not be able to move and shift ourselves towards acceptance. You know, Dave, there was this beautiful drawing that you sent me, so I'm going to try and see.
I have a beautiful quote that somebody has shared here. Actually, a wonderful author here in Canada wrote a quote from Tilopa that the problem is not enjoyment, the problem is attachment. Grief places us in a place of reluctance to let go, the bargaining, the tug and pull of letting go. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. So this is beautiful. Hero's journey seasons, the ordinary life, the call, team, the perils and problems of our life, the special powers, the return gifts, the pit being right in the center of the unknown and the known put together. So this is such a beautiful depiction, and I thank again Dave for sharing this, which we are sharing with all of you today. And if you see, I would like you to see. Tell me in the comments so both of us can know, where do you stand out of this? Can you see this tiny little barley kind of painted, caricatures of us humans right on the periphery of the circle? I want you to write in the comments, where do you belong right now? Are you the one on the top? Are you the one towards the call? Are you towards the perils and problems? Are you in the pit and therefore not being seen? Are you with the special powers? Or are you accepting the return gifts from the universe? Come on, write in the comments and let us know. And then we move on to the next bit towards this lovely drawing. Let us know in the comments, where are you right now? Honesty is a big one. We always talk about in all these sessions, we have said that share without inhibitions and honesty, because we are here to heal, grow, and, move ahead together. So this is a no judgment zone, personally, and I know Dave as well. So we both put together are in the same zone. And anything that happens on this page, is a complete no judgment zone. We are only and only your focus to grow together. So please write in the comments, where do you stand? So you can actually put pen to paper and know from which point do you have to start shifting through the little lovely techniques that Dave and I will share after this. Great, Zaxis says, return gifts. Wonderful, Zaxis. So happy for that. Come on, everyone, let's get going. Let's see where are you on this. The best part about this drawing is the little human going through the, the crust of the earth. I love that bit, Dave.
I drew this because just recently I did some
Beautiful.
healing about letting the inner child, the inner artist to come out. And so this is one that I really enjoyed, something very similar to this. And I actually decided to draw it and then start using it also as part of sharing the hero's journey and also the shero's journey, because all of us have a journey. And that could be, as my son just moved from teenage years to 20, he actually might be grieving a teenage lifestyle as he moves into 20. As if you're a parent and your kids are moving off, you might be grieving that your kids are actually moving on. So there's many different types of grief that we wanted to share today. And this is a beautiful picture of the cycle of the known and the unknown.
Correct. And this part of the grief is our third part, where things not in control. So the grief of the unknown, the grief of what is not in our hands and what we try to, because we try to control everything. There was this very beautiful thing that once asked me that you don't have control over 90% of your body. So I'm like answering, yes, yes. Like, you don't have control over your excretion, your breathing, your digestion. And I'm answering, no, no, of course we don't. So can you imagine that in only 10% of what you can control in your body, you make such a mess out of it? So what would you do if you had any more control over things in your body? And that just stumped me. And this was while my own healing of the garbage was going on, you know. And I was like, oh my God, yes. With all of that we accumulate and store in the attics of our life, not pay heed to it because we are afraid of the unknown, we are afraid of the consequences, we are afraid of what we will or what it will do to us once we start facing it. So this beautiful depiction of what you've done is the unknown and the known and the unknown, the up and down. Also, I feel what I got from the picture when I was praying on this picture after you sent it, that the it's more than what meets the eye, as we say, right? So the unknown is always underground, it's always subtle, it's always subliminal in some way, whereby the mind is concocting it but you can't see it on the surface. It's there, it's germinating through the emotions. And as I beautifully say that with emotions being energy in motion, with the E being the representation of the energy that's constantly moving within us and around us. And the motion of that energy in conjunction to what is happening on the outside and the inside is what is bringing in the fruition, of what we are seeing. So this entire fear of the unknown is a big grief, like I have so many friends, I have so many students, clients. Oh, what will happen to this? Now what will happen? Now will the vaccine come? Now when will all of this end? When will everything open? So you see the entire fear. I think more people are actually suffering depression of COVID rather than COVID itself. So this beautiful journey that you are depicting in this picture really tells, I feel that we should, what we could pick up, at least I picked up, so maybe others could, we all can be in the same spot. And it is like we can both show you where to look but not what to see.
This again comes from Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell was one of the greatest teachers in the West about mythology, about the cultures of the ancients. And so something that I believe is very also illustrated and very rich in India of the stories of the hero's journey. And so I look at people these days with a different type of glass where I look at their journey, their hero's journey, their hero's journey. It gives me an opportunity to perhaps see the divine in them. And then the reminder again, simply by using the word namaste, the divine in me honors the divine in you. These are ways to practice, to explore, and to be present. And this, as you shared earlier, is ways to be aware, ways to be present with breath. And that's the invitation to our listeners today, is to perhaps use one of these words or pictures to engage grief a little differently, with perhaps a different vibration than are the records that you have done, often without knowledge. We're in fact inviting you to explore consciousness and perhaps some playfulness with it. Yet some people might say, how can I be playful? I've just lost my reputation. Well, if you find it humorous, then you might be able to let it go a little easier.
True. True. So, I have these few pointers. We could have this lovely, rapid fire, Dave, where I am going to share a few pointers which could be your calibrators to know that you are connected to grief in some way. And I will invite Dave to tell me instantaneously what he thinks could be the opposite emotion or thought process to that, which you can bring into your life to change from that grief and move towards gratitude. So, Dave, can we go through with this?
Sure.
Okay. So, the first indication that you are connected to grief is that you feel hurt about everything and anything, and you want to remain in that hurt. You choose to remain in that hurt because it gives you power, it gives you an identity. I am hurt. It gives you the I am factor in a very, very strong way to the ego mind, the fearful mind, the insecure mind. I would invite Dave to tell me, let's tell all our lovely viewers what could be an emotion they could, practice in this to kind of turn it on the table.
The energy to bring into it, as opposed to the I am, it is to potentially explore, what are you grateful for? And so by asking the question, what is great about this? What am I grateful for? It may shift and let go of the false ego and give you the opportunity to be grateful. And it's a game in many ways. So can you play the game of gratitude? Can you play the game of what's great about this? Can you play the game of what's God's message here? And so there's ways to shift the energy in a light way or a heavy way. One that drops you down, one that uplifts you. Often, if you can find the humor in it, wow, it often allows you to let go of the victimhood. And so that, again, can be embraced and also nurtured through ownership.
Great. Great. That second part of ownership is what is the next thing. That when you keep identifying and attaching yourself with, he did this to me, she said this to me, and I felt so hurt. Now, if you have to only remove that last part and remove the me part, for example, he did this, she did that, he said this, it completely changes the energy for an objective viewpoint, whereby the attachment to the me or my is not there. So it doesn't become my loss, my this, me this. The moment you shift that, you have retained a certain amount of power to be able to move away from what has actually happened. So the next time when you are in this zone, try to avoid the words me and my. He did this, he always does this to me, she always did that to me, she always put me down, she always puts down, he always does this. Try to change it and remove that me and my, and write back whenever you can on our page, or come back to this post and write there. And trust me, you will feel the shift of that energy. We
I
have
love I
ownership. Sorry.
I love what you just said. The beautiful phraseology there was trust me. And then what you just said was trust. And so it's a beautiful interpretation of letting go of my and me and be.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
we have a lovely quote here also, is that reputation is external, allowing the grief process to put less value on other people's opinion, require patience with ourselves and allowing self-acceptance. And so it
Absolutely.
invites that beautiful conversation with
Yes.
ourselves. And
Absolutely.
again, a playfulness that is so rich and caring.
True.
So do you have another example or another?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the other calibrator to gauge that you are in grief is that you cut away from the softer emotions, the softer emotions of appreciation, love, smile, thanking. So, for example, if you're in grief and somebody tells you, that is a really beautiful dress. And you would go inside, what the crap? She's just saying it. Are you getting it? So you will cut off from accepting the goodness for what it is, even if it is. So you can gauge if you are doing that, and if this is happening far too often, then it means, or to think, oh, this is just crap. I'm not that good. I know she's or he's just saying this to me. If this self-sympathetic thought is coming to you, then also you are in grief. So, Dave, any inputs on how we can turn that?
Become and be a good receiver. Be a nurturing receiver. Be a present receiver. Gives me goosebumps to say that.
Yes.
I have a feeling, because this is ringing to me, is that one area that I feel I could enhance my love is by being a better receiver. And so if you're the type of person who finds it very difficult to receive compliments, receive gifts, receive words of praise, my invitation is to be an even better receiver.
True. Absolutely true. As I always say, two things that always keep reminding me for all the social causes that, one wants to attach self to or to do is two things that drive that. To be a generous giver, I have to be an excellent receiver.
Yes.
And two, that there is no giver without a receiver.
Yes.
So when we are graced to give, then we should feel blessed. You may have millions of money, you may have immense amount of talent, but yet you may not have the heart and soul or be graced to give. And it can all just remain unused for anyone in the world. So when we are graced to give, the receiver is at a higher pedestal spiritually. And the same thing that when we are receiving from someone, whether it's a deed, whether it's a gift, whether it's appreciation, whether it's money, whether it's help, whether it's support, we are allowing that grace to operate for that person to be the giver to us. How beautiful is that exchange? You know? And it is the it is the most powerful thing I feel to even think that actually there is nothing without an exchange. As the famous quote goes, there's nothing free in the universe, technically, actually, because we have to balance the karmic and the cosmic existence of what is. And this whole thing that's going on in the world is the collective accumulation of the imbalance. At some point, the imbalance between the give and the take. As it is said, that it is not just, the perpetrator, but the ones who are silent about a deed are also, abettors to the crime. So many quotes say that, violence or bad does not exist because of the ones who are doing it, but because of the good ones who are silent about it. And that's what grief is as well. We want to keep mulling in the victimhood and self-sympathy of it. And as Dave says, I also feel a lot of time that, humor is a great companion. I had my, one of my very favorite school teachers always tell me, Nadasha, you will go, a long way in life because you have the art of laughing on yourself. And I used to I was the shortest in class. And I used to a lot of times crack jokes on myself. And way later in life, I came to know that this is a very beautiful, innate, intrinsic value, which my community and my religion that I'm born in and the community that I'm born in has given me. Because you will see Parsis are one of the topmost in creating, theater plays and jokes upon themselves, upon the community, So this ability to laugh on ourselves is actually such a big strength. And that's where the humor, to laugh upon our mishaps, to laugh on our mistakes, to take them in a little lighter vein, will always and always help us a little more better than if we are trying to do it in that same serious, grief stricken, zone that we are already in. So that part of what Dave says, you should really, put it onto a pinboard of your mindset, that humor at every level. It's We are not saying that when somebody is dying, you jump on the bed and you are laughing and you are dancing. No, that's not what it means. It means surrendering to that unknown in the picture which is there, surrendering to what is not in your hands and not grieving about it, honoring the time and space, the thing or the person that was with you, being happy that they were with you, as they've said, for those 12 years, rather than grieving that they had just gone in 12 years. There was this beautiful story about two boys who were, brought to custody for one brother against the other. And when this one boy out of the two brothers was asked about his background as to why he committed these crimes, why did he be so violent with the women, and so on, he said, I watched my father. So the background is that the father was alcoholic, abusive relationship, and the imprint that the child had was constantly making him exactly as his father. The next brother was called separately to ask about his brother, that, why do you think he would do that? And how come, you both are born and brought up in the same space, you both are brothers, and why did he choose to, go this way? And why are you who are you, kind of, for what you are? And the brother said, I watched my father. So the beautiful part of it is that both of them grew up watching their father. Whereas one watched the father and replicated, mirrored what the father did, and the other squeezed the wisdom out of it, that I don't have to be what my father is. I don't have to do what my father has done. I should not be doing what my father is doing. So you can look in the same direction, but you can see different things. And that is
I
how grief
actually,
is.
I love what's happening right now for some people is that they are taking responsibility and accountability to change the narrative. That is such a key component. You, as a storyteller, me, as a writer, an author, a father, a son, a caregiver, we are able to change the narrative. And that is such a cool part. It's a word, it's a term, and it's something I'm inviting everyone who's watching right now. You can change the narrative. And what's interesting, I find, is the first story that comes into our head might be the story of the little victim, might be the story of the abused person, could be the story of the child that was abandoned. Yet by breath work, by presence, by prayer, by meditation, we can change the narrative. We can use the empathy, the compassion, the healing to change the narrative. That's what excites me. That really excites me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it just grows from strength to strength. The more you focus on changing the narrative, the more you focus on changing your words, your perceptions, your outlook, the more strengthened your ability to do the same will become.
It's a muscle. It's an
Absolutely.
exercisable muscle. It's the heart muscle. It's the respecting of our organs. Today's salutation, sun salutation. I'm infusing even some of the Taoist techniques of honoring our organs in our yoga and our breathing. And that's part of the narrative that I would like to infuse and to share. And so this has been a blessing to be able to share with you today, too, some ways to go from grief to gratitude. There are pathways, yet ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, it will come down to the way
Beautiful.
you decide to shift your narrative.
Absolutely, absolutely right. So very true. So very true. So let's get to some techniques, one by one, and let's just give them before we go into our collective chanting for the day, which we will do at the end of
Beautiful.
our session. So what is the first? We'll go maybe three or four techniques, two at your end. So you begin.
Well, I love, love, love breathing. And it's just been so beautiful as
Awesome.
being a student of breathing. And then again, with yoga, extending and expanding and holding. And then again, if I want, I can laugh. And I can let it fully out and I can hold it.
True.
There's just
True.
such a beautiful relationship with conscious breathing. And so, folks, there's so much of the true wisdom of all of the masters comes down to
True.
breathing. And so that would be my first little tip. What would be yours there, Roshani?
Great. So after the breathing, which is something that can be instantaneous, actually, like you don't have to wait for something, you don't have to go somewhere. So I feel this should be your first go speed dial breathing. All right. The second I would say is, which is also instantaneous, is laughter. Just try to get into a burst of unnecessary laughter. Try it. I've done that. I've done that in the most gripping of situations, and I've just burst out into a nonsensical laughter. Either sometimes I had to bring some movie clip into my head or something, but at times I've also gone into just mechanical laughter. So like right now there's nothing funny, but I will go to you'll just go. You just go roll on the floor and you just go and go, and it's not laughing. There's nothing funny, but you're still laughing. You are laughing your heart out and you just don't know what is happening. And you just go on laughing and you just go on laughing. And there is no stop to that. Don't let nothing stop you. And that will generate such a surge of energy that grief will need some time to find its way back to you. Okay,
Number three.
that's my instant word. Yes,
Number three.
yes.
Start
Number three.
start learning something new. Start studying, start practicing, doing something like this. Start drawing, allowing yourself to write down what you think and then maybe draw something around it. It's just something for me now with coloring and just allowing the inner artist, the little child who was traumatized at 8 years old, is now invited to come out and learn, does YouTubes together, learns different stick figures, and allowing myself to, in some ways, heal myself, yet in the other way, express myself and nurture creativity. Learn something new. And back to you, Roshani.
Beautiful. And the fourth one is a part of the third one that Dave just mentioned. It is creativity. Creativity is a great transmuter of any lower energy. Creativity in the form of coloring changes the motion and cycle of the emotions in us. So take just a blank paper and just pour out whatever emotion. So if you want to scribble it and if you want to like tear apart someone, just do it. It's all right. Let it out of your system. And then go into some calmer coloring, go into some artistic. I just had this beautiful, so in our mentoring group, we have these Sunday sharings of everybody, how they are growing after the program. We had this thing called the holistic reprogramming program that we did 2 months back in June. And we have some amazing transformations happening. We are going to soon have the next batch in the month of August. So today, one of the sharings was that one of my loving angels, she has taken on big time into painting and realizing her skill set and talent with painting, that two of her paintings got sold by someone who is also an ace artist by himself. So that was amazing, that when we truly diligently put our tools into action, knowledge, I shared a quote earlier, knowledge is only power when implemented. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
it's a powerless toolkit and it doesn't mean anything. So whatever that we are sharing today, obviously, everything you don't need to do at one go. Pick up one thing that hits you the most, that connects with you the most and touches your heart, and like just stamps it there and there. Start with it, but start with all your heart and diligence. Put your soul into it, practice it, put it into action, and then trust that it will create the transformation. So we go on now further towards any culmination of today's session from Dave and then myself before we go into our chanting. Any culmination on the journey of this shifting highlight points in today's session, Dave, that you would like to give all our lovely listeners?
Well, again, grief to gratitude. The honoring that I'd like to share is that I respect divine timing, and your journey is your soul journey. If there's something that you hear today and you want to practice and it serves you, thank you. I feel that's a blessing. If there's divine timing that this is not the right time for you to experiment with anything we said, that you're going to stay and spend more time in the pit, I respect your choice. And I hear you. And that's one of the things that when I work with people, there's an underlying energy around respecting the soul journey of people.
Absolutely.
Divine timing is something that I love being a student of divine timing, and I appreciate divine timing, and I invite divine timing into my life. I guess that might be another one for some of you, is to be a student of divine timing. And when the time is right, you will make the choice. And I honor you for that. That's one that gives nice goosebumps. I like when that happens. The more I share from my heart without necessarily having to be right about things, it tends to sound and feel good. And the body speaks by it feeling good. That's another thing that maybe you want to explore.
True. Beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely. I so connect and relate to this because I am forever a fan, student, learner, slave to divine timing. And I eat, breathe, and sleep that because I've seen nothing is a time moment here or there. And the beauty of divine timing was more enforced right from the beginning of my journey. So today, even with the sessions and stuff like that, I do not do unless I'm channeled when to call someone or if to call someone. And there are times when I'm guided, I'm not the medium for someone. I'm not supposed to do a session for someone. So however good, bad they feel, it's not, I can't help it. It's not a grief that I will hold of something not in my control. And I leave it to divine timing for them to understand, to realize. And at the same opposite, there are times where I may need to say something for almost 500 times to a student, and they will yet be going on with their journey. And that's fine as well, because that's their journey. And I always tell them, look forward while remembering where you come from and where you came from. The journey that traverse, the soul strength of coming till here. so many things that you've overcome, so many things that you've powerfully changed. Honor those things about your soul. Appreciate those things about your soul. So even from the grief to gratitude, if you've just shifted from the G to the R to the G to the R of gratitude, that would be a great step as well. So do not judge yourself, however, whatever your pace may be. Honor yourself, embrace yourself, do not compare yourself and your journey with others, and you will be able to be more and more stronger, a better and better version, not the best version. I don't say the best version because I don't want to cap you and myself. I don't want to be the best version of myself. I want to be a better version each day of myself because that is my limitlessness. And that's what it is with every part of life. So don't cap the gratitude, don't cap the limitlessness of your life. And step by step, as Dave said, with honoring the divine timing and your soul's journey, embrace yourself, love yourself for who you are while working on the reform of moving from the GRI to GRA. Okay. So I feel that this beautiful journey that we can take will be more and more strengthful in the next and next. It's always, you can't straight ask a nursery child to say poems. So that's how it is. So this session was to lay the grounds, of inviting, as Dave says, to enter the spectrum of grief and to know that it is not all that bad and we have the power to transform it. So, with that, we will move into our collective chanting, which we will do. Today's chant is the all powerful, the sound of creation, Om. And we will chant with Dave Rogers with us. So, I will put on some music, get into your comfortable zone, sit comfortably, and be at peace with yourself, with your body, with your surroundings as we begin the chant. The chant, as you know, is for the peace, love, wisdom, healing, and protection for the entire world. And all our collective energy, may it spread into the world to help humanity and all of creation through the times we are going through right now and thereafter as well. So here is the music. Close your eyes and be ready. We'll chant Om. So the Om is in 3 syllables. It's Om. So it's a 3 syllable sound, and we will chant it 9 times. Close your eyes and relax yourself first. Keep your palms open, facing the ceiling. Our palms are the receptors of energy. Our nerve endings are in the palms. All our meridians of the whole body end in the fingertips. And thus, our palms are vortex of energy. Keep your palms open to receive and let go of energy that needs to leave you while you chant. Close your eyes. Take your focus to your heart center. And in the center of your chest area, which is your heart chakra, your heart center, intend or imagine the face, the image of whoever you perceive as the highest power in your life that you pay your obeisance to. And allow that image to expand and become more and more clearer in your mind's eye through the heart center. As always, we will do the jap of Meher Baba's name 28 times and then the 9 times of Om. Breathe in and breathe out deeply and focus on your breath throughout. Meher Baba, 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 Meher Baba. Take a deep breath as we begin the Om. Breathe in and exhale and start the Om at your end. Second time. Third time. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. Seventh. Eighth. Ninth. Take 3 deep breaths. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. At the count of 10, slowly open your eyes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go of all the unserving into the light, opening up all the doorways to gratitude, love, wisdom, abundance, prosperity, healing, and guidance to permeate your life. In love and light, love and light, love and light, may we all be utilized by divine force as instruments of God in all that we think, speak, and do, to live in harmony, love, and humanhood with each other and all of creation. We thank the Providence, we thank Mother Earth, we thank all the time, space, and resources provided to us. Thank you for each one's energy and your presence to be with us. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. Thank you so much, Dave, for taking out time and for us to get on to this amazing journey with our listeners, with our loved ones out there on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are. More importantly, that please share this video because this video is going to be up there. And please share the links with more and more loved ones. Every soul empowered is world empowered. So let this sharing spread to more and more people, to more and more souls. Because if 8 billion people are healed and empowered, what kind of world would we be living in? So let's imagine and visualize that beautiful paradise that we have longed and always dreamed about. And we can only do it when we hold hands and walk with each other, strength to strength, to share our gifts, talents, and the gifts of others. As I always, feel and believe and live by, that it is not just the voice that is speaking, but the amplifier that takes the voice into the world that is as important as well. So please be our light brigade, as I say always, and share all these videos and all the love that we are sharing with you, with one and all in the world. Once again, grief to gratitude, a journey with a cause, is to be able to empower and enable and support the cause of Meher Roshani Foundation, whereby we are wanting to empower our underserved and underprivileged siblings of humanity. With everyone who is going to donate towards this cause, especially if you are donating between now to the 25th of July, will get a surprise gift. So I would ask Dave to first share the gift that is coming from him to all those wonderful people who will donate to us. Milaap.org is a crowdfunding fundraiser, portal where we are allowed to do fundraising for causes. So the link contained over there in the description is our profile on milaap.org, which I would urge you to go read about it, and whatever little that you want to donate, even that 500 rupees, to note importantly that the donation right now is only in INR, which is in Indian rupees format, and that is how you need to do. So please go ahead and donate after the webinar is over. Over to Dave for the surprise gift that we will be sharing, which comes from him.
Well, I've written a book. It's actually a continuation of a journey that started in 2006. And we have come up with the 2020 edition, which is focused on mental wellness. When I came back to Canada, it was very noticeable that people are challenged by depression, isolation, fear, suicide amongst men, corporate post-traumatic stress disorder, insomnia, panic attacks. And so for the last 6 months, my editor asked me to please add 5 chapters to your first book that was so beautifully designed by my 6-year-old son at the time. And he was very much part of that process. And we have come up with a 2020 edition of awesome coaching, which infuses coaching techniques with healing properties and approaches to mental wealth and mental health. And so for anyone who makes the choice to be part of our gift to gratitude, making a small donation, will also get a gift of this new book that is just launching on the 25th of July. So thank you, Roshani, for suggesting us to share this idea. I would love to share the wisdom, the experiences, the case studies from banker to trader to social entrepreneur to father to caregiver with you on your journey. And so we've included it as part of anyone who takes action today to the 25th will also receive a special copy of this book.
Awesome. Beautiful. Beautiful. Great. Thank you so much, Dave, for very, very generously coming forth to contribute to the cause. And this is Dave's way of contributing to the cause. Because I say, you know, we have different ways of contributing. And yes, financial is the most tangible one, because if we have to give ration to the poor people, then we have to buy it, right? So thereby the tangible form of money, as we say, time is money. These two are the biggest karmic existential energies, forms of survival. And neither should be taken for granted. Time is at a higher pedestal because time gone cannot come back. Money gone can still come back. So please open your hearts and whatever little you can. We all are going through troubles right now. I know that. Each of us is fighting for survival, but there are millions more who are way, way worse conditioned than what our grievances and what our grief is pertaining to the COVID condition. So I would say, let's look into our blessings, count our blessings. And even if out of the 50 rupees we have, we can give 5 rupees, that can help somebody else. It'll mean a lot. So we have already to let our earlier donors know, thankful to them for all our patrons and well-wishers. We've been able to donate to about 700 slum dwelling, siblings of humanity, 2 months of ration plus masks and, health hygiene kits and so on. There are some medical sponsorships that have gone, and we have forthcoming almost 15 to 20 very important medical situations where they need the money. There are some who are daily wage earners and they don't have any income last 4 months, and they need money for their rents, for the colis and the hutments that they live in. So there are various angles to school fees of their children. Those schools are not there. Municipal schools or all schools are still taking money. So these are the different ways in which this contribution. We have targeted a collection of 8 lakh rupees in Indian INR till about 16th of October as a full campaign. So all of you, all our webinars are going to be connected to the cause so that we can generously have this little exchange, however tiny it can be. 200 rupees, 300 rupees, 500 rupees, whatever it is. Please share up and ask whoever can give, with the thought that every this penny given out from you is going into the universe to come back many folds into your life. And that's what I pray for each and every one of us. So with that, we close our session for today. And I thank Dave once again. I thank you all wonderful souls to be with us every time diligently. And all my regular community people on the Facebook page, thank you so much for your diligence of your own soul's growth, that you give your time and energy for these sessions to be with me and all the wonderful souls from my life that are there to contribute to humanity. So thank you so very much, and we'll soon see you with the next part 2 of Grief to Gratitude, and take you deeper into how you can overcome this entire transition. Thank you so much. A namaste once again to everyone. The divinity within me bows down to the divinity within you. The power within me bows down to the power within you. Thank you so much for your love and light. Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Please write your questions. We'll be happy to address them, if anything, in the comment section and write it in text back to you. So leave your comments, leave your insights. What was your take home from the session? What did you like the most? What did you resonate with the most? Because that will help us in knowing how people are receiving what is shared. And it will help us to be better and better in the next forthcoming sessions. Thank you so much once again. Lots of love and Jai Baba to all my lovely Baba lovers out there. Love you all. Thank you. God bless.